Despite the upcoming Captain America 4 already having been completely remade once, and having been subjected to multiple rounds of extensive reshoots even after that. The word from the test screenings of the most recent cut of the movie is that it is still a disaster, which it was always going to be no matter what they did to it. And frankly, I don't expect either Thunderbolts or Fantatsic Four to be much better. On the contrary, I expect 2025 to be a complete disaster for the MCU, from which it may never be able to recover. Let's see why. This video is sponsored by WinX DVD. The most recent rumor of Captain America trouble comes from scooper Daniel RPK, who states that the movie is being changed yet again in light of poor test screening results, and with 3 months to go prior to release, that is cutting it awfully close. Especially for a movie where the production cost now has reportedly ballooned to $400 million, which means the break-even point is fast approaching $1 billion. And I'm not gonna say that hell will freeze over before it reaches that, as hell is a place in Norway and it freezes over every year. But I will say I find it highly unlikely that this movie will ever break even. On the contrary, I think the audience will stay away in such numbers that given the high cost of making it, this could very well end up being an even bigger flop than last year's The Marvels. Indeed, we could be looking at another Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny level epochal flop here. And the really bad news for Marvel is that where the year 2025 is concerned, it's all downhill from there. Before we get into any of that though, I know that many of you, like me, have some pretty substantial collections of movies, TV series, and even priceless family recordings from special occasions. And that is good. We always say, preserve your physical media. But we also say that as part of that preservation, you should consider taking digital backups as well, and for that, this video sponsored WinX DVD Ripper Platinum comes into the picture. Whether you want a lossless copy of the disc for your Kodi or Plex, or a smaller file on a format native to the device of your choice, or if you need to fix video aspect ratio and more, then WinX DVD Ripper Platinum has you covered. Even DVDs that have some kind of damage that prevents them from being played back in a regular player may still have their contents preserved by WinX DVD Ripper Platinum. WinX DVD Ripper Platinum is safe to download and compatible with both PC and Mac. And right now, they have a special Black Friday sale where you can get a bundle of 5 programs at 66% off. That's WinX DVD Ripper itself, 5K player, copy and media transfer programs, and most importantly, WinX Video AI, a program which allows you to AI enhance and clean up your own rips, for instance of your old family recordings. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment to claim your special offer today. And with that, let's get back to Marvel's misfortune. Where were we? Ah yes, Captain America 4. The rumors aren't restricted to just reshoots and poor test screenings, but to clashes between the director and producers as well, as World of Real reported that director Julius Ona was off the movie a few weeks back. Something which was refuted by alleged studio sources who claim that no, he was still involved. He just hadn't been there for the then most recent bout of reshoots. But he was still in charge and cool with someone else handling those particular reshoots. Reshoots which, according to the most recent test screening reports, clearly didn't help the movie anyway. While we may not know the details of exactly what transpired here, that is what I call smoke, emanating from the absolute dumpster fire that this production so very clearly is. Just remember, this movie was supposed to be released last year, when McDonald's did their movie tie-in campaign. That's right, the McDonald's tie-in campaign was 1 year before the movie opened. How's that for a sign that something is seriously wrong here? And clearly, something is. There was no way this ill-conceived movie was ever going to be any good. Our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett put it very well on X. Can't make Captain America Brave New World work. The conception of the film was compromised in every way from the get-go. Then the world shifted from beneath the film's ground. Now they're trying to fix something that cannot be fixed, because it was fraudulently created. Something which he further clarified. It was put into production with a script which didn't work, with a director out of his league, which the executives felt they could fix. Yeah, how about no? Indeed, how about no? Never mind that the American public just voted against the entire philosophical underpinnings of not just the movie, but all of the MCU. How is that for sheer hubris? They assumed that they could begin production with only a half-developed idea for a movie, fix it in post, and then have everyone come flock to see it anyway, just because they're Marvel. And probably that is what they thought. As filming before the script is complete, and then letting competent filmmakers work their magic and hope for the best, is and always has been the Kevin Feige way of making movies. But of course, that only works when you are surrounded by talent who actually can work that kind of magic. And Kevin Feige is no longer surrounded by anyone of any such talent. James Gunn was arguably the last, and he has sworn that no DC movie is ever going before cameras before the script is locked and loaded. Something you'd think would be self-evident, but he has to say that because of the Marvel School of Filmmaking. And more specifically, because everything Marvel has been a complete dumpster fire for years now, after they removed all their quality assuring checks and balances. Things got so bad after they did that. And they have been for so long now, that during last year's strikes, I maintained that with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel should have taken the opportunity and scrapped everything they had in development. Every movie and every TV series, and started over with a brand new creative team. Because Team Kevin Feige had already proven that without the quality assurance and checks and balances that was the Marvel Creative Committee, something Ike Perlmutter instituted after the chaotic production that was Iron Man, they simply haven't been able to hack it. And if you don't know what I mean by that, check out this video, where I break down the exact moment the MCU went catastrophically off the rails, even though no one would really notice for several more years, when it all came crashing down in Phase 4, which just so happened to coincide with the lockdowns. But that was incidental, because it would have gone down the drain at that time anyway. I stress that because there are some out there suffering from a condition we can call JPEG derangement syndrome, who are pushing this BS narrative that the MCU went down the drain because of the lockdowns, as that supposedly was when JPEG pushed hard to create more content for Disney+, so they had to rush series like WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and Hawkeye. The problem with that BS narrative, however, is that all of those series, and the movies that came out around the same time frame, were announced at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, 3/4 of a year before the lockdowns, while Bob Iger was still CEO, and those projects had already been in development for quite some time before that. All JPEG did was carry on with what Kevin Feige had already put in development and publicly announced at Bob Iger's orders, because it was none other than Bob Iger who ordered so much content for Disney Plus in the first place. We know this because Iger didn't just write a book admitting just that, he positively bragged about it. Let's say that that book did not age well. Either way, to get all the series that Iger had wanted made, and with so many creatives who challenged Feige for the betterment of the MCU no longer being involved, Feige made the disastrous mistake of empowering card-carrying activist Victoria Alonso, and from WDW Pro's reporting, we learned that her big contribution towards DEI-ifying the MCU was the Mantle strategy. Namely that if you just give a beloved hero's signature features to a new and more diverse character, like turning the Falcon into the new Captain America, or making a female Black Panther or Iron Man, then audiences will respond to these new and more diverse iterations of classic characters by embracing them, just like they did when they did the same thing in the comics. Oh no, wait, that utterly destroyed the comics and caused readers to flee, never to return. But never mind that failed test run. They were convinced moviegoers worldwide would be much more receptive. Except they weren't. So now they're freaking out. Because Captain America 4, the movie that was the most dependent on audiences worldwide being responsive to such forced diversification, is shaping up to be an epic disaster, and one they so richly deserve. That's the one project where everything they've done for years now have added up to a complete disaster. There was never any real talent or plan behind it. It was all about the DEI and messaging of it all. It assumes that audiences everywhere saw a shit Disney Plus series that in reality hardly anyone saw. And as is the Kevin Feige way, they started shooting it even without a script. Because there were no adults in the room to tell them that doing so was madness. And while Captain America 4 may be the most obvious failure, at a slightly smaller scale, the same problems apply to everything else coming out in 2025 as well, as it was all developed during Marvel's most creatively bankrupt period. The only possible exception here is Daredevil, as on that one, they scrapped everything halfway into production and went back to the drawing board already. That's what they needed to do with everything else as well. Even Fantatsic Four, a movie that reportedly had a hard time casting Reed Richards because he's such an emasculated cuck, and it still has a gender-bent Silver Surfer. I'm sure that's going to go down real well in this day and age. Deadpool and Wolverine was a fluke, made by Ryan Reynolds and largely outside of the Marvel ecosystem. 2025 brings back Team Feige with a vengeance, and it should all have gotten the Daredevil treatment or gotten scrapped altogether. I know many interject that simply can't be done because of prior deals. And yes, it would be very expensive to negate all of them. But what's the cost in terms of brand damage of releasing all of these doomed projects? After all the drivel coming in 2025, will anyone still care what Marvel has in store for 2026 and beyond? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, and before you go, remember to get WinNext DVD Ripper Platinum. Click the link in the description or pinned comment to claim your special Black Friday offer today.